Hi, this session we're going to continue on some of the foundational issues of nutrition. This one's going to be about oils, and the big takeaways of this is going to be the ability to understand what different kinds of oils there are, what their important characteristics are, what's good about them, what's bad about them, and how critically important it is to balance these, because these are one of the biggest misunderstood foundations of health that we have out there. This is your Health Reclaimed, where we expose the root causes that fuel Lyme and chronic illness so you can finally heal, help you to understand and heal the root cause of Lyme and chronic illness so you can reclaim your health, restore your life. I'm Dr. Brad Montagne, veteran functional medicine doctor. We've been helping people that have been to multiple doctors for 4 decades now. They couldn't find any help anywhere else, and we get them healthy again. So that's who we are. So today we're going to talk about oils. The oils are one of the most vital and most misunderstood aspects of nutritional needs that we have. To give you an idea how important they are, oils make up 95% of all the membranes in every cell that we have. So all our cells have membranes around the outside of them. So that's what holds everything together. 95% of what makes up those membranes. And inside of those cells, there's all kinds of little organelles that pack the whole inside of the cell, very much the way that we are. We're full of all different kinds of organs inside of a cell. Those are called organelles. They're packed tight, and all the membranes of those are made up of oils too. So the integrity of those membranes determine how well nutrients can get into cells, out of cells, metabolic function, waste products to be excreted outside of those cells so they can eat and get rid of their refuse in a healthy, functional way. The more rigid those membranes are, the more inflammatory they are, the more resistant they are for any kind of nutrient exchange across the membranes. The more liquid and fluid those membranes are, the more anti-inflammatory those membranes are, and it's way easier for all the nutrient exchange to happen across the cell membranes. So oils are what set the stage for inflammation. Oh, that's really critical to know. The balance of oils that we take in are what determine the foundational principles around the inflammatory state of the body. People go to their medicine cabinet, whether that's supplements or medicines, to try and deal with inflammatory responses, not understanding that the way they eat is what set the stage for that. And they're trying to throw pills, commonly, at the symptom of a lifestyle problem. So it's really, really, really important to understand how this works and how you fix it. So oils are also, they're the building blocks for all of our hormones. They're the building blocks for the storage that we make for most of our energies, which is in fats. They're the building blocks of cholesterols, which keep everything going. After water, they're 60% of what builds our nervous system. We've got 4 nervous systems. The central nervous system is brain and spinal cord. Peripheral nervous system is what attaches that to the rest of our body. The enteric nervous system is what drives the function of the gastrointestinal system, or gut, in other words. And your heart has a nervous system in it also. The electrical impulses off of the heart, the cardiac electrical system, is so strong that very sensitive measuring devices can measure the electrical pulses of that 10 feet away. So that's pretty significant. And all those nervous systems interact. So 60% of the building blocks of the nervous system after water is oils. So we look at the different kinds of oils. We got omega-9s, omega-6s, and omega-3s. We'll start with the omega-9 oils. Omega-9 oils are typically animal oils. They're solid at room temperature, and that's a classic thing that really sets them apart. It's the omega-9 oils that make these cell membranes the most rigid that they are. It resists all kinds of nutrient transfer across the membranes when our cell membranes are made up primarily of omega-9s. The omega-9s are always hyperinflammatory, no exceptions. These set the stage for inflammation, how they are, and something that is really, really critical for people to understand is in our bodies, the toxins that we can't process and can't excrete, mostly into the toilet. The secondary elimination organs are the lungs and the skin, and it's toxicity that's not processing and excreting into the toilet that cause most of the respiratory and skin problems, like asthma, eczema, psoriasis, things along that line. So what happens when we can't get rid of those toxins is they store in the fats. So whenever we're eating animal fats, we're eating all of the toxins that those animals have produced and ingested and weren't able to process themselves, and they store it. Consider this, that the bulk of the fats that we see in animals, whether we're talking birds, certainly farmed fish, and all of the grazing animals that are out there, the fattest of all those are those who are fed with toxic foods. Corn is one of the biggest ones of that. With those toxic foods, they're always filled with herbicides, pesticides, whatever kind of antibiotics they're used to keep that industry going and all that. All those are stored in the fats. So whenever you eat the animal, you're eating all the toxins that they have consumed. One of the more eye-opening things about the herbicides, Roundup was first introduced as a drain cleaner. What it does is it chelates. It changes the form of the minerals inside of us. So we might have those minerals, calcium for instance, but it turns it into form we can't utilize, which shuts down all the metabolic functions that go on. Atrazine is in the corn system, always in the corn system. It's 10 times worse than Roundup. And a lot of people don't understand what's there with that, but it's way worse than what Roundup is. The atrazine is one of the biggest causes of sexual dysfunction in the farming world. The runoff from the cornfields, it gets into the ponds, the creeks and all that. It'll take male frogs, make them grow female reproductive systems that can produce fertilizable eggs that turn into tadpoles. It's highly mutagenic, highly cancerogenic. It causes frogs to have multiple sets of legs and all that. It's really a dangerous thing. And this is a huge part of what's driving a fair amount of the sexual identity problems within our society is the fat laden with atrazine that's in that. So this is really a big problem with animal fats. A lot of people, carnivore diets, keto, paleo, think these are really, really healthy, and they don't realize how toxic they really are. And a lot of the organic growers aren't really organic, and they're pretty toxic too. We've tested a lot of them. So the next type of fat is omega-6s. Those are primarily our vegetable oils. These can be inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. One of the biggest things with the vegetable oils, corn oil is a big one. Whenever there's corn oil, it concentrates all the toxins inside of the corn. And the whole corn industry is built off of Roundup, atrazine, and other very strong herbicides, pesticides, and things along that line that go with it. So that's always a part of it. Whenever you get a vogue, that That's a new oil that becomes very popular. There's no longer enough supply to keep that going, so they cut those oils. They cut them with other kinds of oils that they don't put on the label. And oftentimes that'll go to different ports around the world, and each one will add a little bit of something and put it back into our own grocery system where we get that and we're not aware of the fact that they're cut. Whenever you cut oils, avocado oil is a classic one of that. Avocado oil was promoted to have a much higher flash point so you could cook at a higher temperature. It's supposed to be really clean and all that, but it became real popular. They said we haven't seen a non-cut source of avocado oil for years, a lot of years. And its flash point is lower than extra virgin olive oil because of all the cutting that goes on. One of the biggest things with cutting, it almost always has cottonseed oil in it. Cottonseed was used by the slave women when their owners got them pregnant as an abortifacient because they didn't want to birth children into slavery. So when the owners got them pregnant, they'd go eat cottonseed to make them lose their babies. And the owners would try and make them drink teas to counteract that, and it's a huge thing. But major hormone disruptors when you start doing that. And it's the same thing like within the omega-9s, major hormone disruptors. The third kind of oil is omega-3. Omega-3s are commonly known as the fish oil. These are the omega-6s, the vegetable oils, they're liquid at a refrigerator temperature. The fish oils are still liquid at a freezing temperature. So that's one easy way to discern those. The omega-3s, these are always anti-inflammatory. They're typically your fish oils and your nut oils. The one vulnerability with the omega-3s is that they start to go rancid within 3 hours of room temperature. And this is the reason why over 75% of the sources of fish oil or omega-3 oils that you get in your health food stores and wherever you try and get them are rancid before you buy them. The only protection for that is refrigeration. If your source was not refrigerated from manufacturer to however you're going to ingest that, whether that's in a liquid or in a capsule, if it's not refrigerated the entire time through that, you can just about guarantee that it's rancid. There's just not a way to stop that without refrigeration. So that is one of the biggest vulnerabilities with that. And that's one of the biggest problems with trying to find it. Then we look at different sources of omega-3s. You look at the blue zones, in the island Sardis that's out in the Mediterranean. There's no difference in the lifespan of the people up in the high mountains who primarily get their omega-3s through dark greens and what we call a weed over here is purslane. It's a succulent. It's a real thick leaf plant that's really crunchy, and you chew it, and it squirts the liquid from the leaves and the stems inside your mouth. That's a very, very rich source of plant-based omega-3s that's extremely healthy. And when you look at your grass-fed, grass-finished animal meats, those have fed off of primarily green grass that has healthy omega-3s in it also, and that's why those meats are so much healthier. So we start looking at the cooking of these different oils. Beef tallow has become a lot popular recently because people think it's clean. And they're not aware of the fact that all the toxins of those beef animals that primarily come off the feedlot are full of all the toxins that go with that industry. The more densely you populate animals, the more medication you need to keep them well. And the soil around those things has been so toxic that children have played in old farmyards, got a scratch in their skin, and died within a matter of days because of the veterinary cocktails of antibiotics that are fed all of these animals. So you're getting your antibiotics, you're getting the hormones they use to manipulate those industries. If you take even a steer as a castrated bull in a feedlot and you start to give them estrogen as a hormone supplement, they can finish that animal 3 months earlier than if they don't give it to them. So hormone manipulation within the feedlots and the farms is a huge motivation because they don't have to feed them for 3 months, less than what they would if they don't do it. So you have all of these hormones, all of these antibiotics, all of these residuals from the toxic feed supply that's sprayed with atrazine, Roundup, and all that in the tallows. Along with that, phthalates, which are plastic derivatives, those are hormone disruptors. There's a host of toxins in these things that people are not aware of, and they're not healthy at all. When we look at the omega-6s, corn is almost always a constituent of the vegetable oils, and that's going to be full of concentrated atrazine, Roundup, the pesticides that go along with that. That's generally hyper-inflammatory, not healthy whatsoever. There's only a few sources of uncut oils in the other ones, and MCT oil's been very, very popular. That typically comes out of coconut. Coconut's a hormone disruptor. It's an estrogen disruptor, and it affects women a lot worse than men. It's a real major problem in the industry. That is not a good oil to cook with. As soon as you put heat to it, it liquefies. You can smell that acrid smell comes off it. That's the oil going rancid. So that's not a good one to cook with. Extra virgin olive oil has classically been the best one that's out there, but it depends on whether that's cut. And you take a clean extra virgin olive oil, its flash point is above 325 degrees. You can cook with it in a pan fry, fairly low heat. Its flash point is above what they promote for avocado oil. They say that flash point is around 400 degrees, but since it's cut, it's never there. So olive oil is really, extra virgin olive oil has always been one of the best oils you can cook and bake with, and that's a key. You can put some nuts in some of your baking, but you want to bake those things at 325 degrees. If you start baking at 325 degrees, you won't make any of your oils go rancid, and they'll be a lot healthier. So, to recap all this stuff, there's 3 kinds of oils: omega-3s, 6s, and 9s. 9s are animal fats. They're full of all kinds of toxins, hyper-inflammatory, make rigid cell membranes where you can't get your nutrients out of it. Omega-6s are usually full of all kinds of herbicides and pesticides, and those aren't very healthy either. The omega-3s, if they're not refrigerated, they're not very healthy. Your olive oil always has been, always will be extra virgin olive oil, the premium cooking oil there is out there. And there's just no way you can get around that. No matter what people say, they manipulate the science to make you believe otherwise. So this is Dr. Brad, Your Health Reclaimed. We put these out every Monday and Thursday. Tune in, leave us a review, follow us. You're going to learn a lot. Thanks.